Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to bring to you my very, very special guest. We're going to be talking about how to build wealth in this current economy that I know is a bit confusing, strange, precarious to say the least. We've got a 20 plus year financial planner, somebody who's been in the finance sector forever. And he's a buddy of mine. He's a former client of mine. I'm so excited. Make sure you come on back. If you have any questions about finances, your money, your business, how to plan for the future, this is the show for you. Don't go anywhere.
What would happen if I took a chance? It's always hard at first glance. I don't wanna, but I know I gotta do it. The truth is hard to swallow. I think I'll chew it.
Welcome, everybody, to the Creator Economy live stream podcast show. Hey, Nano's in the house already. Good to see you, Nano. This is a show where we talk about all the latest in the creator economy. If you're a business owner, if you're a content creator, if you're somebody who is a professional, maybe an executive, a project manager, a director of operations, dare I say, a financial investment director, and you're looking for relevance in the current zeitgeist, in the culture of now, this is the show for you, because what we talk about and what we implement here is we try to help you monetize your skills, creativity, and experience in the creator economy. And relevancy is a really big part of that. So welcome everybody to the show. We're going to jump right into it. DJ Strick on LinkedIn. Good to see you, my main man. How in the world are you, sir? Come on in. It would really mean a lot to me if you could share this out, tap that thumbs up, and just let people know that we're live. Let more people know that we're live. Bring them over here. I truly believe, I was just chatting with my good buddy, Jamie, who I'm going to bring up here in just a second. I was just chatting with him and telling him, I think this is going to be, and no hyperbole, I think this is going to be one of the most important, one of the most value-driven shows we've done in a very, very long time, especially given the current economic conditions. I know you're probably just like me wondering, holy mackerel, why is everything so expensive? Why is gas, food? Why I want to go, get a steak to grill for my family? Holy macadamia nut. What is happening here? I can't even, take my family out to eat without it costing at least $100. What is happening here? Why are banks failing? We're going to talk about so much. So I think this might just be one of the most important, if not the most important show we've done in a very, very long time. So I'd really appreciate it if you could share this out. So without further ado, let's get things cooking. I'm going to bring my guest out here right now. And by the way, really quickly, if you have questions for our awesome guest, make sure you leave them in the comments. Type a capital Q followed by your question, and I am going to ask our very special guest. You're going to get all the solutions you need right now for your finances in the future. Disclaimer, always seek out professional help. This is not financial advice, but we want to make sure that we cover all our bases. You always want to, these are our, sole opinions, but you always want to make sure to seek out a professional. But we've got the best of the best, and he's going to drop some absolute knowledge grenades. Who's ready? Give me a hashtag yeah in the comments right now. Tony Locke, good to see you on YouTube. Come on in, everybody. Today's special guest is the founder of Woodson Wealth Management and Allegiant Divorce Solutions. He is a certified financial planner. He is my good buddy, actually a former client of mine who has now, he's running two businesses. He's doing fantastic. He's flourishing. I'm so excited to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Nez Nation, big warm welcome to our guest, Mr. Jamie Lima. Jamie, how in the world are you?
Hey man, how's it going? Look at that. What applause. Man, what that intro.
This is a high budget show. We're not messing around here, Jamie.
I didn't see any. I thought I was expecting confetti. So,
that's next time. Next time you come on, we're doing confetti. It's so good to see you, my good friend. It's so awesome to have you here. And why don't you, before we get started, I've got so many questions for you. I can't wait to jump into this. This has been a long time coming with you and I, and I'm so super excited. Give our audience just a little bit, kind of the fast version of the origin story, how you kind of came into the finance sector, what your background entails, what you're doing now, and then we'll get cooking.
Yeah, totally. I appreciate that. Thanks again. And you're right. I mean, we started off as friends, and look at us now. Here we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, friends first for sure.
Absolutely.
So if I go way back in the time machine, and I tell the story a lot. I mean, some of my first experiences related to finance were just me growing up, and my parents didn't have a lot, and my family didn't have a lot, and I tended to, I tell people all the time, the thing that you don't have, that thing sometimes in your life is the thing that you tend to gravitate towards. And I had always had a passion and interest for investing and money and learning how to manage it. And I even knew early on when I was a young tot, so to speak, that I probably would try to own a business one of these days. And here I am. But I'm originally from the East Coast. I'm born and raised, and I moved out to California about 25 years ago or so. And I hustled. I was working in restaurants and hotels and you name it. And I knew that I wanted to do something in the finance sector, but I didn't really have the hands-on experience. So I finished my degree in finance around the age of 21, 22, somewhere in that age range. And I continued to work in restaurants and so on. But then I was able to get my foot in the door at a company called Morgan Stanley back in 2005, 2006-ish. And I worked there for about 5 or 6 years, just learning the ropes and learning how to manage, people's finances. And those were the days way before when you could pick up your phone and place trades, right? You still had to call us. And if you wanted to buy 100 shares of Apple, you had to pick up the phone and call your stockbroker. And I would be on the other end of that call. And sometime in 2011, I decided to leave Morgan Stanley and go to a company called Fidelity Investments, where I spent about 9 years managing relationships there. I had about a 2-year stint where I was coaching and training some financial advisors with the company. But for the most part, I've always been working face-to-face with individuals and families and businesses to help them better manage their wealth. You and I know, I reconnected with you about 3 years ago when I was getting ready to launch Woodson. And I was, the struggles I went through trying to decide whether or not I was actually going to do this or not. And frankly, if it wasn't for you and some of the conversations that you and I had offline, I probably wouldn't even be standing in front of you today. So, and I get emotional just thinking about it because it was such a jumping off point for me and such a moment, right? That just changed.
Hey Jamie, the check's in the mail. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I have to pay you back for that intro. It's ridiculous.
Confetti, don't worry. I'll charge you for the confetti.
Yeah, I got it. So as you know, 3 years ago, I decided to launch my company. And really what the impetus for that is that when I was at Fidelity, I was working with 450 clients. I had oversight over a ton of money, over $1 billion I was responsible for. And I just really felt like I wasn't able to do the true wealth management, financial planning stuff that we're educated on and trained, and I really have a passion for. So that's what prompted me to launch the company and where I am today.
So awesome. So fantastic. So I want to jump right into it. Thank you so much for giving a little more context there, Jamie. By the way, again, guys, live viewers, replay viewers, podcast listeners, leave your questions too. There is a questionnaire form in the show notes. You can also come back to YouTube or LinkedIn or really anywhere and leave your question in the comments. And Jamie and I will definitely follow up. We'll respond to all the questions personally. But Jamie, I want to just start off. If you have questions live, obviously, you know what to do. I want to just start off. So the big news. What do you, I've just been burning and dying to ask you this question. So SVB fails, right? Mm-hmm. Silicon Valley Bank fails. Depositors panic. A lot of people panic, right? Yeah. They start taking their money out of, similar types of banks. Joe Biden, the president, goes on live national television and says, you have nothing to worry about. The banks are still super safe. You can leave your money in there. Depositors are insured, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just curious, what is your take on what happened with SVB, and what does it mean for us, the small people?
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't mean anything for us. You know, the laymen that are down here, the peasants that are
Well,
down
that's
here.
good to know.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really mean anything. And the main reason is that, and the main reason why SVB Bank failed is because they were dealing with a lot of private equity. They were dealing with, a lot of technology companies and so on. It's just not something that these traditional banks deal with. You know, the Citibanks and the JP Morgans of the world and so on. And we actually sent an email out to all of our clients in the newsletter list that we have that explained this whole thing and talked about really how small SVB Bank was compared to the bigger firms that are out, the bigger banks that are out there.
Right.
So for us, you and I, your listeners, really nothing to worry about. Mm-hmm. There's FDIC insurance that's in place. There's SIPC insurance that's in place for investment companies. And a lot of these brokerage houses that are out there, a lot of these banks that are out there, they'll actually hold your money at different banks to ensure that you exceed the limits that are available out there. So the biggest reason why SVB failed is because there was, with the interest rate changes and the leverage that these banks have, they kind of got caught with their pants down. And that's the reality of it. They didn't do a very good job of managing the balance sheet. And that's what happens. The good news is that this happens all the time. All the time. If you look back at, and this was in the newsletter list as well, where it shows the number of bank failures that we've seen over the course of the last 20 years. And what tends to happen is that it's a delayed reaction to the economy, right? So if we go back to 2008, everybody remembers what happened in 2008.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I was just a couple of years in my career at that point, trying to navigate that environment. But in 2008, only a few banks had failed at that point. It wasn't until 2010, 2011 that the effect of what happened in 2008, 2009 really impacted the banks. And I don't know the exact number, so I apologize here, but it was something along the lines of like 40 banks failed in 2010 and 2011.
Wow.
You ever hear of a company called Washington Mutual?
Yes.
Remember that company?
So I like them. I had, I totally know.
WAMU. And
that's right.
And they went under and they had to be rescued. And this happened. It just happens all the time. But there tends to be a delayed reaction. So with SVB Bank, the delayed reaction was, you're coming out of a pandemic, there's interest rate changes and all these other things that are happening to the economy, almost a perfect storm of events for a company like SVB that unfortunately was not doing a very good job of balancing the debt that they had on their books.
You mentioned something really interesting. First of all, thank you so much for that in-depth answer. I think that's really reassuring, because anytime, and I probably could presume that a lot of it has to do with fear mongering and clickbait. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, when they hear the words, especially people who've lived through what you mentioned in 2008, the financial collapse of 2008, anytime we hear the words banks failed, I think we're all traumatized from what happened in 2008. Sure. I know I am, at least. I mean, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. And anytime I hear the words banks failed, I start thinking, holy mackerel, is this going to be a domino effect? What bank has failed? How many more are going to fail, et cetera, et cetera? And so the concern starts to elevate. And, when people panic, it's probably the worst emotional state to be in when you're managing your money. Right, Jamie?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going to sell commercials and advertising? CNBC flashing the breaking news thing and telling you, come back after this break, and we'll tell you all about what's happening to SVP, panic, or everything's copacetic today. And, oh, guess what? The market's up 3%. And, nobody listens to that. Nobody wants to hear that. It's all about this being the creator that you are, and knowing as much as you do about how people react to news cycles and everything else. It's just what it is. And I tell people all the time, specifically our client, because I had a text this morning. I had a client texting me this morning. She's on vacation in Hawaii. It was 6 o'clock in the morning in Hawaii. And she's texted me asking me about the debt ceiling and how that's going to impact her. And as soon as I reminded her that that's happened 12 times in the last 10 years, and we're going to have this conversation 12 more times, probably in the next 10 years, because Congress can't get out of its own way, she was like, okay, I'm going back to bed. It's just noise, people. It's just noise.
I love the way you said that. And we got a great, it's so good to see you. Shark Fin Tech is in the house. Air fist bump to you. Other regionals, Shark Fin Tech says, other regionals have failed. First Republic, Signature Bank, Silvergate Capital.
Yep.
It shouldn't be happening. There was fraud, not just negligence, incompetence. Yeah, Shark Fin. Thank you so much for your comment.
Spot on.
Yeah. So you mentioned something really interesting that it ties into this, kind of first thing we talked about, interest rates.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Fed has raised interest rates, probably the highest basis points in in 40 years or something like that, something crazy like that. You would know better than I would. It's caused a bit of, how should we put it? Unease in the housing market, to say the least. People are borrowing less. People are even not looking for mortgage products right now. It's sort of correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, you're the expert here. It sort of has chilled slightly, but not, still not to where we're hoping, it will be. The big R word that nobody wants to say, recession. Are we in a recession or are we not in a recession?
I don't believe we're in a recession.
Okay, tell me why.
And I mean, there's a difference.
Tell me why people are so afraid to even say it.
Well, people are afraid to say it because then, if you put it out into the universe and the next thing you know, it might happen. But here's the thing, going back to the CNBC thing. If I wake up every day and I get on TV and tell you, hey, Nez, today's the day that we're going into a recession. And I do that for 365 days. And then I do it the next year and the next year. One of these days I'm going to be right. And you just can't live. You can't live your life like that, right? The reality is that a technical recession. We technically had a recession last year, right? Because we had 2 quarters of negative GDP. It was very minute, minute. 0.0, 0.1, 0.2, negative 0.1, 0.2, somewhere in that range. And here we are, right? The sky didn't fall, and the market's been, relatively good this year, comparatively speaking. It was better than it was last year. And are we in a recession? The problem with being in a recession is that you don't know you're in one until about 9 months later. Because going back to the technical definition of recession, it's 2 quarters of negative GDP.
Right.
So if we were in a recession in January, we're not really going to know that until July.
Right.
Right. And then it's still going to take time for that data to come out, and then it has to be validated and everything else. So now you're talking like 8 or 9 months later. It's like, oh yeah, we were just in a recession. And then by that time, we're probably coming out of it.
I guess the reason I ask is I love the way you said that, the sort of technical term of it. For people like myself and my audience, and just for the layman, we're seeing inflation rise. We're seeing the cost of goods rise. Unemployment is shaky at best. The labor market is, we saw Amazon fired another, 50,000 people. Meta's firing people. Google. I mean, companies that, we thought were the sort of the secure future, that were bulletproof, right? They're invincible. Meta hasn't laid off. I mean, I saw a stat the other day. Meta hasn't made a layoff like this in almost 10 years. This many people. And that's just one small microcosm of an example of companies across the board laying off people. The housing market obviously has turned upside down, if not downright, crashed. I don't want to say the C word. There's a lot of words I don't want to say. The R word, the C word. I want to say the M word, though, the money word. I want to say money, because we're going to talk about building wealth. And this is all kind of relevant to that. So for people who are facing all these challenges, yes, technically we're not in a recession. What are you telling your clients? What are you telling people, especially people maybe who their portfolio leans more in real estate? And I want to kind of go even deeper in the real estate market. What are you telling your clients? What are you telling people? I love that you're so reassuring. Guys, isn't Jamie great? He's like, just relax. He was like this when I first met him too. He's like, Nez, don't worry about it.
No.
Don't worry about your IRA. Don't worry about, I love it. Cause Jamie was a huge, as much as he mentioned such great compliments to our relationship and how I've helped him. Without him, I would have no clue, because that's not something that let's just be honest. I'm not somebody who really, I'm just not interested in that whole world. I love staying in my lane and doing what I love to do, which is helping creators, creating content, creating media that influences, inspires, and changes lives. The sort of back end of that, and looking at all the data and looking at how to grow this and that, as far as from a financial perspective, it's not something that of course, we all need to know that. And of course, it's interesting, but it's not my wheelhouse. Let's put it that way. And so without Jamie's help, I mean, I'd be clueless, nowhere. So as much as he mentions me, he's been a huge help to me. And so what are you telling people, Jamie, right now, where, maybe the thought of, hey, honey, you want to go to our favorite Mexican restaurant? That thought is now preceded with, maybe next week, or maybe we shouldn't do that this week, or you know what, maybe I really can't even say we should do this now.
Yeah.
We can't go to our favorite Mexican restaurant. I'm not going to suggest it. What are you telling clients right now with everything that's happening in the economy? The fact that things seem very unsteady, fractured, maybe even, dare I say, and just really there's a lot of uncertainty. What are you telling them?
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I'm all pie in the sky, right? I recognize
of course not.
How challenging it is for so many people, and we feel it when we go to the gas pump. We feel it when we go to dinner. My wife and I have 5 kids between the two of us, everybody. So if we get the whole team together and we go to dinner, forget about it. It's expensive, right? So I just feel like with so many of the clients that we work with, they feel those same pressures, and there has to be some level of elasticity, which is the term we use, elasticity in your budget, right? Maybe, and just like what's the famous saying? This too shall pass. This too shall pass.
How eerie it is that you just said that? I had a whole content series about that very phrase. Continue. I love it.
No, this
is why we're so in sync, Jamie.
Seriously, man. What was that? Zeitgeist? What was that word?
Zeitgeist.
I don't even know what that means. You need to tell me after we're done here. Just somebody, or put it in the chat. Somebody put it in the chat.
You should have Chat GPT open right now, because when I use words, you need to look them up.
Seriously, I don't know. This is ridiculous. But for the clients that we work with, we do a hard deep dive on their budget. We spend a lot of time with them learning about what's coming in, what's going out, and working with them to try to figure out ways to build in that elasticity, right? And for those that are not working with us, we certainly love to help. But what I mean by that is really just figuring out, like, what are the priorities here, right? And is it ballet lessons for little Susie, or soccer lessons for little Johnny, or is it dining out or entertainment? So you just have to really sometimes have to have a hard look at where you're spending money.
Right.
And I think if we all did that, and we did that on a systematic basis, there's probably places we can cut out so we can do those things that we want to, right? Is it a subscription that we're paying for we don't need anymore, and so on? And we do deep dives like that with all the clients that we work with. So I don't know if there's a magic bullet, Nez. I really don't. I don't know. This is just the environment we're in,
Mm-hmm.
and we all have to be a little flexible with what's coming at us. And that this is where emergency funds and savings will go a long way in helping you navigate challenging times. So
okay,
I wish I had a magic bullet for.
No. I think you have to be honest, and I agree with you. I don't think there is a magic bullet, but I think there are some strategies that people can implement to navigate this sort of, I don't want to say bad time, but this sort of, let's just say it's not the most thriving time right now for a lot of people financially.
Sure.
No, I totally get that. And I think, I love what you said. You said something really interesting. You said priorities. how many people do you see that you in your industry and this can even go back to Fidelity or Woodson and what you're doing now at Allegiant. How many people do you see? And you just say, look, if you cut this out, it would drastically improve your finances. And you just see people who are not managing money well, and there's simple things to fix them. I mean, what's the most common thing that you find with your clients and just anybody really, Jamie, that is like, why don't just do this one little tweak? And I know there's no such thing as a sort of a one for all, but what is something that comes up over and over again?
Just lifestyle creep. The lifestyle creep is the word of the day. I think. Define
that. Go into detail.
The lifestyle creep is where when you let's say, just for example, you make $75,000 in your first real job, right? You make $75,000 and you rent a place and it's this dollar amount, or maybe you're lucky enough to buy a house and you have your mortgage, whatever. And then you're dining out and you're doing your entertainment and you're living your life. And then all of a sudden you perform well at work and you get a raise. And the next thing you know, you're making $100,000 over a period of a couple of years. Well, in our mind, that person making $75,000, the first thing they're probably going to think about is, wow, I'm going to have an extra $25,000 a year to save. However, 9 times out of 10, when we work with clients like that or meet people that come to us with this type of situation, they're now burning that $25,000 in other areas of their lifestyle.
Yeah,
so that is lifestyle creep. It's this subscription or that subscription, or I'm going to travel a little bit more, and now that $25,000 that was extra is now a necessity. And then they make $125,000 at their next bonus and their next performance review, and wash, rinse, repeat. They're in the same situation. Example of how we helped somebody with that specific situation was a gentleman that we're working with. He's a single gentleman who lives in Irvine, California, and he's up the road from me here in San Diego. And he was making, I want to say he made a little over $100,000 a year. Let's call it $110,000 a year. He was doing some contract work, and now we just did an amazing job. I won't name the company, but he's making about $180,000, $190,000 now. And same situation happened. Lifestyle creep, couldn't figure out where the money was going and so on. And we did a deep dive into the budget, and we set him up with our financial planning software, and we had him link all of his accounts, and we were tracking everything. And we did that month to month to month. And within about 90 days, we found $2,000 a month he could just save.
Wow.
Mostly from coffee shops, trips to the driving range, the pro shop at the golf course, some different bars that he was going to on a regular basis with some of his friends. Just those little, and I'm not here to tell anybody that they need to, don't go out and get your Starbucks. That's not what I'm saying here, but there are things that will add up that.
Do you know how much I fund Starbucks? I think I fund their entire payroll.
The Green Goddess?
I don't drink there. My wife drinks probably, I don't know how many cups a day.
Okay.
And honey, I love you if you're listening.
Yeah.
But it drives me crazy because that's how they get everybody. This mochaccino, chocaccino, whatever it is.
The Green
just
Goddess
drives me nuts. And it's
Goddess.
like $10 now.
The Green Goddess just sucks you in.
The Green Goddess.
Green Goddess.
Exactly.
And again, I'm not trying to tell anybody to just completely change their lifestyle, make all these drastic changes, and like sell everything and go live in a trailer somewhere. That's not the whole point. The whole point is that if you take the time to look and really commit to it, because that was the one thing that I was concerned about was, is he going to commit to this? And he buckled down and he committed to it, and we found $2,000 a month, and now that's going into his retirement account and his brokerage accounts and so on. Well, and he's able to max out his 401k now and put some extra money into the brokerage account where you can save.
There you go.
Yeah. And he'll probably buy a house next year. That was one of his goals. So
what are interest rates at right now? Are they below 6 now, Jamie?
Floating around that neighborhood.
Floating around that neighborhood.
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what my interest rate is right now, but it's funny because DJ Strick, I want to get to your question. This is a great question. Gives you kind of a more of an example, Jamie, of who our audience is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We had thoughts of investing in a new house, and you and I even discussed this.
Hmm.
And what happened? What I thought was going to happen happened, which was the election was over, and there was a very specific result, and the stock market went a certain way. There were the financial markets went a certain way, and then the Fed decided to raise interest rates and tighten regulations, obviously, like they always do, and not the Fed, but the government. And it put a big screeching halt to our home purchasing decision making. And so I want to talk to you about the real estate market really quickly. Depreciating assets, cars. What do you tell clients? Lease, buy? What do you tell them? I know it all depends, but just generally.
For me, it's personal preference. It's one of those things where if somebody asked me that question, the next question I would ask is, are you typically replacing your cars every couple of years, or are you driving them till the wheels fall off?
No, I'm replacing them every 2 years.
If you're replacing them every 2 years, just go with the lease because you might as well rent it and move on.
Exactly.
But if you're going to own it, and again,
I was asking for a friend.
Yeah, you already put the disclaimer out there that this is not financial advice. So
this is not financial advice.
Anybody that is listening that replaces your cars, like every couple of years, you might as well just lease and rent it. But
my wife's like, you can't lease forever, honey, and I'm like, why not?
Well, you can, and then if you like the car, then you can just go back and buy it.
Just go back and buy it, exactly.
And that's the thing. That's the thing about even going back to interest rates. If you're in the market for a house and you find a place that you love and you can afford it and you can live with a payment for the time being, have at it, because
you can always refinance.
You can always refinance.
Yeah.
You can always refinance. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's actually something I didn't think really too hard about, is that, let's say it's the property of your dreams, whether you're using as an investment property or your primary residence. If it's something that is feasible, if I'm understanding you correctly, Jamie, hey, just bite the bullet on the interest rate, make the payment. You can, when things get back to normal, or, I mean, that's another question I have for you, Jamie. I mean, do you think that let's say the next election cycle, 225, 224, do you think that interest rates are going to tighten, or they're going to go back to the glory days of, less than whatever, 3%?
Well, I mean, the main reason why they interest rates changed is because of the inflation situation, right? And to be able to control it, that's monetary policy.
Right.
Monetary policy. How does the Fed control monetary policy? By raising or lowering interest rates.
Right.
And if we do go into a recession, so here's the beauty of how all this works. If we do go into a recession, we're all going to feel the pain. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But now the Fed has arrows in their quiver, so to speak, and some levers they can pull to be able to help stimulate the economy again when they need to.
Perfect.
Right?
That makes sense.
So it's not all bad. And there's a reason why it's being done. And we can talk about whether how much the Fed has control, and should they have that much control, and who the president is, and do they control all that. None of that really matters. What matters is that now they have some options here. Because can you imagine if we were in this situation and they didn't have any options, and then we go into a recession? It was nice knowing you.
Right. Right. Exactly. We have a great question here from DJ Strick.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie, maybe you can help us out. When is it important, DJ asks, for a business owner to establish a trust? Should anybody establish a trust, or is it specifically something that is, primarily for corporations, entities, etc.?
If you had, I would answer a question with a question.
Yes.
Do you have people that you love?
Absolutely.
Right? Do you have people that you love and want to take care of after you pass away?
Absolutely.
Do you have people that you love and want to take care of after you pass away, and have assets you may want to give to them and not have it out in the open in the public domain so everybody knows all of your stuff?
What's the difference between a trust and a will then?
So a will does not mean that you're not going to go through probate.
Oh.
So the way that I explain it to our clients, and this is an amazing question, DJ, so I appreciate it, because I could talk about estate planning all day long. Love it, love it, love it. All of our clients, every one of our clients, this is like usually the second or third thing that we work on with them to make sure they have all their stuff in place. But the will, think of the will of I want to give my cousin Johnny my baseball card collection.
Right.
Or I have a 1973 Corvette. I'm going to give it to my brother Tom. It's property transfer and stuff that really wouldn't go through probate. If you start looking, if you have a business and it's a valuable business, or you have a home and you have some equity in that home, and if you live in California, and I don't know anybody here that doesn't have a house that's not worth $500,000, right? It seems like every house here is $500,000 or more. But if you have the rule of thumb for us is if you have over $160,000 worth of assets, we usually want to create a trust for you and help you, and then put all those assets into the trust. And the reason being is because it allows you to gain control from the grave.
Wow.
Morbid to think about. But so if something, and think about it this way.
I've never established one. Is it expensive, Jamie?
We can do it for about $1,000.
Wow. That's nothing.
Yeah. $1,000.
I mean, it's not nothing, but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it in perspective. We use a company that we have a partnership with. We are not attorneys. We don't give legal advice. We don't create a trust, but for you, but we'll walk you through the exercise, and we can literally share a screen with our clients and walk them through that process.
Right.
And it's about anywhere between a third and a sixth of the cost, depending on the type of attorney you go to get it done. So $1,000 is, in the big scheme of things, not that much. But going back to DJ's question, I would absolutely. I have 2 businesses. Actually, we have 3 businesses. And
look at you.
Yeah. That's
what. Hey, do I get some kind of percentage from the revenue?
You get all royalty. Speaking of trust, guess who's going to get to run all this? Who's going to get to run all this? Yeah. Where do you think all the gray came from? Man?
Hello. Hey, Jamie, I'm with you. Man.
So
hey, these sideburns used to be black.
That's why you don't. That's why that's hilarious. So we created a trust for ourselves and the family. Mentioned we have 5 kids. We want to make sure that if something happens to the 2 of us, heaven forbid, they're taken care of. It allows, and somebody can take care of the business.
Which can happen at any minute. So get one now.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And it's very easy. It's not that complex. And it does allow you to give you control from the grave, because when you pass away, then somebody can step into your shoes and act on your behalf to distribute those assets out. And the beauty of it is you can usually avoid probate, and you don't have to because with probate, it's a public process. So if you have any skeletons in your closet, it will be laid out there for everybody to see in the newspapers, in the public notices for everybody to see, if you happen to go to probate.
And that's the main distinction between a will and a trust is the probate.
The probate, basically the probate, and
a will doesn't cost, I don't think, as much as a trust. No, a trust is worth it.
Yeah. A will we can probably do for like $200.
Right. But you're saying a trust gives you more control.
Much more control. Much more control.
Is it more legally binding than a will, Jamie?
Well, a will can be contested.
Oh, wow.
Very, very rarely do trusts have any contest against it. It's much more legally. I feel like it's much more legally binding. I'm not an attorney, and they can speak to the specifics of why. But in my experience, for anybody that we've worked with, most people that we work with, I should say, they use a trust because there's much more control.
So DJ, you have your answer. If I'm understanding you correctly, Jamie, you're saying start one now. It's never too early.
I would. If I had a business, absolutely. If it was a business that I was passionate about, 100%.
Absolutely. Okay, Jamie, I have to ask you this. And by the way, big shout out to CK Construction Cronies. It's so good to see you, brother. Welcome to the show. By the way, if you have any other questions, that was a great question, DJ. If you have any questions, put a Q in front of your question and followed by your question in the comments. We're going to ask our amazing guest. Again, we're joined by the great Jamie Lima, who is running not 2. I thought it was 2. Apparently, he's running 3 now.
Well,
when's 4 and 5 coming?
My wife and I have a bed and breakfast that we run through Airbnb on our property here. So
look at you.
She does a ton of the work. I just mow the lawn and make sure it looks nice.
There you go. Hey, like a good husband.
If something breaks, I have to go out there and fix it. That's
okay. Hey, Jamie. So the title of this show is How to Build Wealth. How do you even approach something like that? We want everybody watching and listening to this wants their money to grow. You have advice from people like Dave Ramsey. Well, you got to get rid of debt and you got to boost your income. You got other people like, great investors and like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, and say, well, index funds or, dollar index funds, and forget about individual stocks and go, broad and diversify. How do you build wealth, Jamie Lima?
Well,
I know there's no brushstroke. There's no one brushstroke. But for somebody who could be inspired by this answer, Jamie, somebody who's just sitting there, and you know what? I'm just going to paint the perfect avatar for you. Somebody who knows nothing about investing, somebody who maybe is a good earner, is doing really well in their business or profession, but really just throws it in the bank like probably 90% of people do. And as well as I do, Jamie, putting it in the bank does nothing to circumvent inflation. Putting it in the bank is probably the worst thing you could do. Or maybe not the worst, but it's not the best thing you can do. What does that person do? That layman who maybe, let's say they're making 6 figures. I don't know how much, but let's just say 6 figures. They know nothing about investing. They've heard of Robinhood. They've heard of the stock market. They've heard of all these apps that help. But they know that their money's not growing. How do you build wealth, JB?
I think the first place to start is not all these fancy, sexy Robinhood, Coinbase type of investments. The first place to start to build wealth is, I guess, 2 places. One, first off, making sure that you have an emergency fund. This might be one of the, I don't believe 85% of what Dave Ramsey says, so I hope he's listening. But,
I love it. That's why I love you, Jamie. You're not afraid to stand by your position.
He's 85% of what he says is just pure garbage. But one of the things that he talks about is having an emergency fund, right? And this is not sexy. This is not, there's not many confetti from me saying this, but here's why. If you can have an ample amount of cash sitting there, that way, and when an emergency comes, you will avoid having to go cash in on your 401k when the water heater breaks. Or I read a statistic that I forget the exact percentage, but more than half of Americans can't afford to cover $1,000 emergency without having to sell something.
Oh yeah, it's more than that. I think it's something like, well, check this out. I know you've heard of this, Jamie. I love this comment, by the way, by Redo Sticks on Twitch. You just described me perfectly. I make enough money for the first time and have no idea what to, Jamie, how many times have people come to you? And by the way, everybody listening and watching, 6-7 years ago, that was me. And by the way, I'm still lost without Jamie, to be honest, which is why I'm so happy he's on the show, because I hope this show, people might be watching this. If you're watching and listening to this in the year 3000, I know what Jamie's saying is still going to be applicable, because these are the sort of foundational elements of what to do with your money. And so I love Redo Sticks on Twitch, who says, you described me perfectly. This is me. I make good money, but I have no idea. I know Jamie hears this every day. I know he does. Every day.
And I've been here for years. And if we can start with the emergency reserve, that allows you to not have to break the bank, break in case of emergency, right? That's the go-to all the time.
What's the standard, Jamie? Is it 6 months of
6 months? 6 months for dual income families,
right?
12 months
for single.
12 for single. 12.
Okay.
It's 60. It's 3 to 6, and then 6 to 12. I err on the side of caution because we are in a little bit of a strange situation right now from an economics perspective.
Yeah, of course.
So err on the side of caution. 6 months for dual income families, 12 months. And what by 6 months, I mean 6 months worth of expenses, right? Clothing, food, clothing, shelter. You want to make sure you can have those expenses covered. Then the next place I would go is to max out my company 401k. But before I max out my company 401k, I would make sure I at least contribute up to the company match.
Yeah.
So if my company is putting in 3%, I'm going to put in 3% because I'm going to make sure that I'm going to get that 3% free money.
Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? It seems insane to me.
Free money. People miss it all the time because there's no education around this stuff. They don't teach you this stuff in school. And then when you go enroll for your first,
and companies don't go out of their way to let you know that.
Why would they? Do you know why they don't? Because they're afraid they're going to get sued.
Oh,
they're afraid they're going to get sued. That's why the pension plans went away so many years ago. Only 3% of companies now have a functioning pension plan because they said, hey, Nez, 30, 40 years ago, it was, Nez, you work for us for 20 years and I'm going to give you the gold watch and it's $2,000 a month in this pension. Oh, right off in the sunset. And then people were suing the company for mismanagement of the pension. And then they said, forget that in the 1970s when the ERISA rules came in place. And then they said, which was the creation of the 401k. And then they said, you're not going to sue me anymore. It's on you. And then they set up these 401ks and then you're stuck managing them and they don't teach you anything about them. So
match your 401k, make sure you have 6 months in reserve funds. What else, Jamie?
Then if you have the opportunity, then I would be contributing to a Roth IRA.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now there's a difference between, now these are two financial products.
Correct.
So there's a difference between a Roth IRA and what is it? The traditional
IRA.
Traditional IRA. Now, what's the difference, Jamie? You said Roth, not traditional.
Roth, not
I've
traditional.
heard so many differing opinions on this. I love this.
If you are, now there are rules that are in place, tax rules that are in place. You have to make under a certain amount of money to be able to contribute to either one.
Right.
Don't test me on the number because it just changed at the beginning of the year. And then it'll be December by the time I remember the number, and then the number will change again. And it'll take me another. So
okay.
So you put money into the Roth IRA, and the beauty of that is that the money coming, you don't get a tax benefit today. However, 20, 30 years into the future, when you go to take that money out, that money comes out tax free.
Ooh.
Okay.
Now, are you paying taxes initially on it?
You're paying taxes from your paycheck.
Right.
Right. So let's say we put $5,000 this year away into my Roth IRA, and then 30 years in the future, that $5,000 is now worth 20. I haven't paid taxes. I haven't paid taxes for that 20 years that the money is in there because it's inside a retirement account. Then I can take that $20,000 out later, no tax.
Tax free. You don't pay any taxes on the gains?
None.
So what are you paying for on the $5,000 I initially invest? I'm paying what tax rate? At what tax rate?
That comes, well, whatever your tax bracket is at that
bracket
point.
Is okay.
Because it's coming out of your
changes. Like, what if they get rid of income tax in 10 years, which will never happen.
So that's why we do I love this. You're teaming up on all these amazing strategies.
Hey, Jamie, you know what? I have something that I want you to comment on because I know this is perfect. We're going to get back to the list. We talked about emergency funds. We talked about matching your 401k, maxing that out. And now you said Roth IRA, which we're going to get to. But hey, I truly believe, I'm going on the record. I don't think I've ever said this, Jamie. I want your thoughts on this. If we eliminate income tax altogether and we have a flat purchase tax of, let's say, I don't care, 9, 10, 12%, doesn't matter. Not only would you be getting revenue from all of the workers, but you'd be getting revenue from people, criminals, drug dealers, etc., who deal in cash only, which you and I both know, Jamie, there's so many loopholes in the tax code right now. Don't you think that's a good idea? I want you to tell me it's a good idea so I can pat myself.
It's an amazing idea. I have no clue. I don't. Whatever you want me to say.
Wait a minute. No. I gotta take advantage of my my applause.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, Jamie.
I think it's an amazing idea. We'll just whatever you want to go with.
But you're saying, let's get back to business. You're saying put it in a Roth IRA because you don't pay taxes on those gains. And why would you want to pay in that tax bracket? Let's say it's a higher than normal, or let's just say it's the average tax bracket. Why would you want to pay taxes on 20,000 as opposed to 5? Is that what you're saying, Jamie?
No, you don't pay any taxes on that $20,000 when it comes out.
No. I'm saying with a traditional IRA, you would.
Traditional IRA.
Right. So why pay taxes? This is so crazy. Shark FinTech says, I've worked with colleagues who don't even contribute to their 401k.
Absolutely. I've seen it before. And some of them are unfortunately, some of the poorest people and most, they mismanage their money like nobody's business, but we don't have to go down that path.
No, we don't.
But as, so
listen to this comment from Nano. After a year on my job, I learned what a 401k was.
Brutal.
That's brutal.
Brutal, man. See, they don't teach this stuff.
They don't teach this stuff. That's why you're here, Jamie. You're going to rescue all of us.
we can go another hour because we created a whole 4-hour webinar series on all the stuff they don't teach you in school.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to tell everybody where to find you after this is over.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So what we're really, I want to, because I want to be cognizant of time, but what we want to try to do at the end of the day is try to give you more tax levers to pull in retirement.
Right.
We want you to be able to have enough saved and be able to manage your taxes in retirement, because we all want to, you can't go back to work at the age of 65 or 70
Right.
or 75.
Right.
Maybe you can, but you're probably not going to enjoy it. Right.
Right.
So we want you to be able to enjoy your retirement. And then when it comes time to start taking money out of those accounts that you've saved all those years, our job is to figure out, okay, well, because we don't know what the tax laws are going to look like in 30 years. So by having tax levers for us to pull, it doesn't matter what they look like. They could be higher, they could be lower, but now we have more flexibility with how we're taking distributions from your accounts.
Interesting.
That's the main strategy of what that workflow looks like, where we go to the 401k first, the Roth, then we go back to the 401k and try to max that out. Right. So now you have usually your traditional 401k, then you have some Roth monies and so on. And then you have a mishmash of different types of investments.
Okay. So let's say that you do all that. I love this, by the way, Jamie. Love this. This is so good. If you're getting extreme value from our awesome guests, give me a hashtag yeah in the comments right now. Let's say we do all this. Excuse me. Let's say we do all this. Now we've got some capital. We've got some money to play with. People say, well, don't play with the stock market. Don't play with, don't put everything in, you want to buy Tesla, fine. Or you want to buy Google, fine. You want to buy Nvidia, which just went crazy recently, fine. But some people say, no, only play in the stock market. Some people say, no. It's all about, I know you and I both know there's a guy out there, I'm not going to mention his name. All he says is you're throwing your money away if you don't buy real estate. It's all about real estate. Where do you stand? Let's say your client says, hey, Jamie, I have maxed out my 401k. I have set my priorities. I've budgeted myself. I've gotten rid of depreciating assets. I've saved. I have opened up in Roth IRA. Where I've got some money to play with. What would you tell that individual?
I would say, why would you try to beat the stock market? You might as well just own it. Right. And then
wait a minute. You got to unpack that. Okay. I need another applause button. Wait. Oh, no. I got even something better for that. Say that again, Jamie. Say what you just said.
Why would I want to own the stock market when I can? Why would I want to try to beat the stock market when I can just own it? Bruh.
That deserves a bruh right there.
Was that
by the way, my new name is not Dad anymore, Jamie. It's bruh. It's no, wait. It's this. Bruh.
Okay. Sound like a goat.
I know, exactly. So you have to unpack that. Why would I want to invest in the stock market if I could own it? Unpack that. That's so interesting.
Well, it's really more about trying to beat the stock market, right? So because that's what a lot of people do. They want to They want to make all these they want to make all these investments, and they want to try to get rich quick and so on. And then so they buy the Teslas of the world, and they buy the Doja coin or whatever it is, and they usually come out not so happy in the long run, or they're just taking on so much risk that the roller coaster ride wants them to jump off every 15 minutes, and then you're never going to build wealth that way either. So we work with a lot of the clients that we work with. Probably about 85% of the clients we work with are between the age of 30 and 50 on the young end of the spectrum. And they have a lot of time to live before they're going to need this money. So we keep it super simple. We'll go out and buy S&P 500 index fund. We'll buy a little bit of international fund for them. We'll get maybe a little bit of bond, assets in the portfolio, because bonds are not always bad, people. Bonds are not always bad. Whether interest rates are up or down, bonds are still a good investment for a portfolio in some form or fashion. And then we'll have a little bit of cash on hand in case they need to gain access to it. And with 4 investments, we can build a wealth building machine that they can just keep plowing money into for 5, 10, 20 years, or however long they're going to need that money. And it's going to get them to where they need to be.
So you compound that every year. Is that what you're saying, Jamie?
100%.
So your plan is, so if I'm understanding this correctly, or what we're saying is diversification, basically?
Diversification.
Right. And then compound that, be very diligent and disciplined, and compound that YOY, right? Year over year.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the biggest mistake is, like my neighbor across the way over here, he buy, it's always the next hot stock thing, right? It's buying SVB when it's getting crushed, or buying Tesla when, before the split, or whatever it is. And, I think there's something to be said about having some fun money, right? I'm not here
Yeah,
to tell all of your investors and all of your listeners that they shouldn't have fun and live their life. So what we usually do is we do what's called a core satellite approach. So we have their core investments, which are going to be that diversified, boring, plain vanilla portfolio. And we have about 10 or 15% off to the side where they can go buy whatever they want. And we know that they're going to be able to, they can blow themselves up, and they're not going to be sleeping on their kid's couch at the age of 85.
Right. I'm sure my kids would love it if I slept on their couch at 85. Dad's back.
Yeah. Boomerang dad.
Yeah, exactly. That's so good, Jamie. I really, really appreciate that. I want to be mindful of your time too. We've come to the top of the hour. I just want to, if anybody has any, first of all, Jamie, I want to say a huge, huge thank you to you. I'm going to give you the floor to take us home so you can tell everybody where they can contact you, how they can get a hold of you in just a second. But if anybody has any last second questions, I want to give a big shout out to Nano, CK, Shark FinTech, DJ Strick. I want to give a big shout out to Redo Sticks. I want to give a big shout out to Guppreet, Michael Pepper Tech. Thank you for being here, Chantel. A lot of great people here. If you have any last minute questions, please feel free to ask our awesome guest. I think we got some serious knowledge on how to build our wealth. And to me, it seems very practical, very anchored in reality, which is why I had Jamie on the show. I'm so happy to have him. Let me ask you this, Jamie, before you take over and tell people where to go. What are some last minute things that you can share with my audience? What are some things in your vast knowledge, like if you could have started all over again, what are some things that you would have done differently when it came to managing wealth?
There are a couple things.
That list might be long.
there are a couple. I'm going to keep it super simple because I know we're pressed for time. But the first thing is I would start early. I had the luxury of starting early. We've helped our kids start their own IRAs, Roth IRAs, when they got their first jobs, and I think it made a world of difference. And that's how I got my start in learning how to invest and place trades. And this was even before the internet, where you do this type of stuff. There was one company called ShareBuilder, which was, I think, it bought by ING or something a few years back, but that was the very first company where you could log onto a computer and you could place trades in any stock, and you could do so at like $25. If I had $25 to purchase, I could buy 10 different stocks and buy fractional shares. And that's how I ended up getting my experience in this world, and really built a passion for it to do what I do. So, but at the same time, it's never too late, right? If you can start early, amazing. But if you're 30, 35, 40, 50, it's never too late to get in the game and start to really build wealth. And you just have to be smart with it. And in many ways, I would say, reach out to a professional, because we're not as expensive as people think. We have subscription plans for our financial planning services. We do what we can to make sure that we're not a burden to our clients' budget. So there are companies like ours out there that are here to help. The second thing I would say is, if you're really worried about managing wealth and managing it for the long haul, get a prenup and be very, very careful with who you marry. I'm seeing so many divorce cases right now, and that's what really prompted me to my own divorce. Could have easily devastated me, but with some good planning and some leveraging the resources that I had at the time, I was able to salvage some things. So be very, very cognizant of who you marry and who they are and how they manage money and when their relationship with it, because it can really, really jam you up. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, hey, I just have to say, what an honor, what a privilege. Thank you so much, Jamie, for being here. I'm going to let you kind of tell people where they can find you. Let's say if they want to learn more about what you do, perhaps even work with you. Where can people find you, Jamie?
I would just go to the website. The website is woodsonwm.com. So it's WOODSONWM.com. We are at the base of Mount Woodson here in beautiful San Diego. And That's our namesake. So go to the website. You'll have access to our fee schedule is on there, the services we can provide. All my contact info is there. I have 4 advisors on the team right now that have a specialization in other areas. I don't even know if we talked about this, Nez, but we've actually brought 4 other advisors to the team that are helping me continue to grow and scale. And we have a college planning expert. We have an estate planning expert. We have retirement planning experts. I'm working in a lot of ways. I'm focusing on divorce, financial planning, but still doing the traditional wealth management stuff at the same time. So
that's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you. Really, it couldn't have happened to a more deserving guy. You've always been so generous with your time and your knowledge, especially to me, but also to my audience. And I will also, we'll leave a link to Jamie's website in the show notes and in the description, so you can go check that out. Jamie, what a fantastic pleasure, brother. Everybody has been giving me hashtag Yaz in the comments, saying that you just were absolutely invaluable today. Thank you so much for being here, Jamie. I really, really appreciate it. And we're going to have to probably, I think we should have you on the show again. I think we need to have you on the show again, maybe do a part 2 one of these days. Maybe every year, just have Jamie on and give us the financial review, right? What do you think, guys?
I would love it. I think that would be killer. I was just going to say, am I going to see you next Thursday?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's next Thursday?
Are we going to do this again next Thursday?
Oh, no. Maybe not that soon. You know what, though? That would be fun, though.
Anytime you want.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jamie. I really, really appreciate it. Hang back for a second. I want to talk to you after I close things up. Okay. But everybody give a warm goodbye to our awesome guest. Thank you so much, Jamie, and we'll see you next time, okay?
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Hey, guys, before we get out of here, first of all, wasn't that awesome? What a great guest, Jamie Lima. Isn't he terrific? He's just phenomenal. I want to just say really quickly before you go, don't forget in the pinned comment, in the show notes and the description of the video, make sure that you sign up so you can become a Nez Nation VIP insider. So you want to go to professornez.com/insider. It is absolutely free. It is your gateway. It is your VIP pass to be in the know anytime we go live, anytime we have new videos, anytime we have the latest and greatest updates and information, everything having to do with the creator economy, helping you monetize your skills, creativity, and experience in the creator economy. Make sure you sign up for that ASAP. It's absolutely free. Link in the comments, or just go to professornez.com/insider. I am your host, Professor Nez, saying thank you guys so much again. Big shout out to everybody who was here live, replay viewers, podcast listeners. I absolutely love you guys. Be safe, be good, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.
wish I knew.